Yay! It turns out we are in the Twilight Zone. Truth is stranger than fiction. We're about to go to our guest. You know, there are some people out there like Mark Rich and others that were investigating the fact that Bernie Sanders publicly had the nomination stolen from him. He was winning all the first primaries. They would just give Hillary the delegates. The Republicans tried the same thing with Trump. And, you know, whether you like Bernie Sanders or hate him, whether you like Donald Trump or hate him, these are both populist, maverick types that Americans across the board saw as anti-establishment. And now to make sure Bernie Sanders doesn't complain too much, you notice that, you know, they've got all those investigations of him going on. And now we have a Florida judge dismisses fraud lawsuit against the DNC. Elizabeth Beck is an attorney and founded Jam PAC, the first and only truly progressive grassroots super PAC. It is powered by ordinary citizens to serve the public rather than billionaires, corporations. Jam PAC aims to hold politicians accountable to the citizenry. Its goal is to restore the voice of the people to government. Elizabeth holds a law degree from Yale Law School and a bachelor's of science degree in mathematics from the University of California at Los Angeles. And here's the Washington Post, Associated Press. They all ran it. A year-long legal battle over the Democratic National Committee's handling of 2016 presidential primary came to an end Friday, with the federal judge in Florida dismissing a class action suit brought by supporters of Senator Bernie Sanders. And here to give us the details of this and this defeat, well, I'm no lawyer, but I covered it all. I know election law. It looks very, very cut and dry. Parties may claim that primary votes are ceremonial, but you've got public money being spent on elections. You've got the Constitution. Clearly, it's not. But they're trying to set that precedent. Republicans tried it. They failed. But maybe that's because the field was a little bit bigger. With Hillary, it was just Hillary and Bernie there at the end. But again, attorney Elizabeth Beck joins us doing really important work for the integrity of our electoral system. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for making the time, Alex. On May 1st, 2013, you, Alex Jones, published an article on InfoWars. The title of the article was FBI Report Implicates Saudi Government in 9/11. The first sentence of this article that you published on InfoWars states, contrary to the official narrative, 9/11 was state-sponsored terror. The only question is which state sponsored it. The article goes on to say that the Broward Bulldogs FOIA lawsuit asks U.S. District Judge William Zloch to order the FBI to produce all records of its Sarasota investigation, including the records seen by Graham. Alex, what do Antonin Scalia, Sheila Abdus Salam, and Teori Zavascki have in common?
The 28 pages?
No. What do these three people, Antonin Scalia, Sheila Abdus Salam, and Teori Zavascki have in common?
Are they dead?
They are dead, and they also have something else in common.
Tell me.
They are all judges. Antonin Scalia was a United States Supreme Court judge. He passed away on February 13, 2016. He was found dead in his sleep as a guest in a West Texas ranch. There was no autopsy. 4 days before, on February 9th, 2016, John Podesta of Secretary Hillary Clinton's campaign sends an email to Steve Elmendorf saying, quote, didn't think Whitworks meant pool parties at the Vineyard, end quote. Steve responds, quote, I am all in, end quote. On the day of the Supreme Court Justice's death, February 13, 2016, Milia Fisher emails John Podesta links on the justice's death. Also, she sends him an older Washington Post link from December 31st, 2015, about how a Supreme Court vacancy would favor Democrats. These emails were released by WikiLeaks as part of the Podesta emails. On November 6, 2016, a few days before the presidential election, Newsweek publishes an article entitled, "With Vote Looming, What Happens with the Supreme Court Vacancy?" Approximately a month before the presidential election, on October 19, 2016, CNN publishes an article. It is titled, "Questions for Clinton and Trump on the Supreme Court," end quote. The article begins with, quote, "The future of the Supreme Court hangs on the next election." Sheila Abdus Salam was a justice on the New York Court of Appeals. She died on April 12, 2017. Her body was fished out of the Hudson. There were bruises on her neck and no suicide note. Her husband disputed the ruling of suicide. She was the first African-American woman to be appointed to a seat on New York's highest court.
And just to be clear, if you joined us, Florida judge dismissed his fraud lawsuit against DNC, where they publicly stole the nomination from the voters that went for Bernie Sanders, hands down. And you're tying all this
I'll get
together.
to that.
Yeah, please continue.
I'll get to that. Thierry Zavosky. Thierry Zavosky died on January 19th of this year. He was a justice on the Brazilian Supreme Court. He died when his small plane crashed. He was appointed by former Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff to investigate widespread corruption in the financial and government elite in Brazil, and was in charge of handling the Operation Car Wash corruption trials. Operation Car Wash is an ongoing criminal investigation begun in 2014. Rousseff was impeached on August 31st, 2016, and replaced by Michel Temer as president of Brazil. 5 months later, the head judge, Thierry Zavosky, is dead. Temer's new finance minister has appointed Ilan Goldfein as central bank president. Goldfein, who has a PhD from MIT, has formerly worked as a consultant for the World Bank, the IMF, and the United Nations.
Okay, so, I mean, I understand there's a lot of corruption, a lot of murders going on. How does this tie together with the suit?
This lawsuit was filed approximately a year ago in the Southern District of Florida, in the Fort Lauderdale courthouse. Last week, after having a 3.5-hour court hearing on defendant's motion to dismiss the complaint for failure to state a claim, the federal judge dismissed the lawsuit filed by over 100 people for allegations of fraud against the Democratic National Committee and its former chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The judge on this case is Judge William J. Zlock.
By the way, Schultz is under criminal investigation now, and her adjuncts have been indicted for espionage. So we're really starting to dig deeper into all this. And I understand you're giving us just the facts and the background, but
3 months ago, on May 25th, 2017, the body of Mr. Baranton Wisenant washed up on shore in Hollywood. Can you show that gas pump that I sent you? The picture of the gas pump?
We'll pull up some of those images, but just describe it for us.
His body was found on Hollywood Beach. Hollywood Beach is in Florida. And I sent you guys a map. It is very, very close to the Southern District of Florida courthouse where the Wilding case was pending. A few weeks ago, I had a meeting with a gentleman by the name of George Webb. George Webb is a roving independent reporter for Crowdsource The Truth. After he interviewed my law partner, Jared Beck, and I, regarding the DNC fraud lawsuit, we went out to dinner with his colleague, Jason Goodman. George Webb told me that it is very, very easy to induce heart attacks in people. Apparently, you can freeze toxins, heart attack inducing toxins, into tiny little splinters and shoot them inside of people. And once the frozen toxin dart goes inside your body, it melts and releases the toxin. And soon thereafter, you will have a heart attack.
Sure, that's or it's gelatin darts, but just backing up, because I know you're really been an expert on this, a lawyer involved in it all. We know that they stole the election from Sanders. The suit's been thrown out. We know a lot of judges are getting killed. They later admitted that Antonin Scalia was part of a secret society connected to Bohemian Grove at the event. A lot of weirdness. Clearly, I mean, they've got former CIA deputy directors saying they're going to kill Trump on television. So, Elizabeth Beck, I'm asking you just in the generalities about the cases while we had you on, dealing with Bernie Sanders, and just sew it up for us what you're saying this all points towards.
What I'm saying is that whatever job we collectively want done is too big for one courthouse, one judge, one lawyer, or one voter.
That's true.
Okay? So now, Judge Slock has dismissed the case. We are considering our options, including appeal. If we were to appeal this adverse ruling, it would go up to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, Federal Appeals. If they agree with the lower court, it would then presumably go up to the Supreme Court on a petition for certiorari. I think it would probably be a good idea for this lawsuit if more and more judges were on its side, rather than it being handled by one lone federal judge sitting here in South Florida.
Sure. What's the statute of limitations? Can't folks that voted for Sanders and saw the majority vote given to Hillary, as they did in like 12 states at least, can't they just file suits all over and then those have a better chance of something getting through?
There's over 1 million lawyers in this country. I invite the public to contact attorneys to see if they can assist you in filing your lawsuits against whatever grievances you may have against your local or federal government in connection with election irregularities.
All right. Well, listen, Elizabeth Beck, thank you so much. Jampack.us. I want to talk to you again once you get honed down exactly where you think your next step is. Thank you so much.